Yes, here we go. 2025 AP Macro live review session. I'm looking at the comments, make sure my audio is doing great. I will give a few shout outs in a few minutes here. Shout out to Mr. Benson as you guys let me know. Let me know in the comments if my audio is great and we're ready to rock. First thing I want to tell you is thank you so much for being here. This right here is our agenda. I'm going to talk about, I'm going quick here. We're going to do the AP exam. I'm going to talk about some definitions you have to know. We're going to talk about relationships, graphs, the equations you got to know, and then I'm going to give you my predictions for the free responses. If you took micro, you would know that, excuse me here. If you took macro, then micro, you would know that the AP exam, I was off on the free response predictions. It was a monopoly, but I thought it was going to be something else. It happens. Let's see what I do with macro. I already posted the answers for set one for micro. If you didn't see that video, just posted it, but you don't need that. You need macro. Let's focus on macro. Let's jump into it. First thing first here. Thank you. If you got my ultimate review packet or the exam slayer, or are you just watching my videos, thank you. You're the reason I'm here. You guys are awesome. Thank you for letting me be your kind of quasi online teacher that helps you out. Remember, I'm your teacher's compliment, not a substitute. So make sure to say thank you to them for all the hard work they put into teaching you this year. This is it. You have less than 48 hours to get ready for the AP macro exam. I do see all your comments coming in. I see your shout outs. I will get to them. I promise. Just I'm going to get moving here. Other thing I want to mention, if you have my ultimate review packet or the exam slayer, there is one more live sessions I'm going to do tomorrow, 5:00 p.m. Pacific time. Take a look at that. Keep in mind, these live sessions are great, but if you need help and you're like trying to get a 3, it's better watch my other videos on YouTube or in the ultimate review packet or the exam slayer. This live session is really for people who are trying to get a 4 and a 5 to get those details, to ask a lot more questions. I will answer some of your questions in this video, but not that many of them. Let's jump into it though and talk about first the AP exam. As you know, there's 16 multiple choice questions. Hopefully you practice a ton. There's a full-length practice exam in the ultimate review packet. Hopefully you've done that. And there's 2 more in the ultimate exam slayer for you to practice. You've got to practice those questions. But remember, you're not trying to get 100%. 16 multiple choice, 3 free responses. This is the breakdown based on previous years. It always adjusts based on students' performance and the exam itself. But to get a 5, we're talking about 85% will get you that 5. To get a 3, we're talking about 58, 60%. So you're not trying to get 100% on this thing. So if you watch the video in my ultimate exam slayer, I really talk about the strategies you have to put in. You have to focus on the low-hanging fruit, the easier questions you have to get right. Don't freak out about the super hard questions. Right now, with less than 48 hours left, if you don't know how to do terms of trade, don't worry about it. Forget it. You might miss that question, whatever. It might be 1 point in a multiple choice. It might be another point in a free response, but it's not going to be the entire free response. So if there's things you just do not know, don't freak. Take a deep breath. I was looking at the comments earlier, and some people are like, oh, I'm cooked. I'm not going to do well. I didn't study. You'll be fine. Just focus on the biggest, most important concepts first. In this class, it's going to be the easy concepts in Unit 2. Unit 2 is a joke. Super easy. Only thing hard is the calculations in there. Types of unemployment, what is GDP, all that kind of stuff, easy. Units 3 and 4 is where you have to focus a lot of your energy, though. So fiscal and monetary policy, aggregate demand and supply, know the graphs. I'll talk about that stuff inside this video. But the test itself, it's not that bad. It really isn't. You're going to do fine. Let's talk about key definitions. Again, I'm trying to be quick here. I can't answer your questions. So if you're saying things in the comments, just calm down. I'll get to them. You're going to see a certain number of questions and in here that are just definition questions. They're just your basic definitions. If you know the definition, you're fine. So take a look at this list. If you look at this list, and you look at these things, you know what human capital is, or you know the 3 types of unemployment, or you know what crowding out. If I say the word crowding out, it should be like, okay, I know what that is. Crowding out, higher interest rates means less investment in the economy because the government's doing all the borrowing. That leaves less borrowing for private firms. Perfect. If you don't know these terms, this is a good place to start, just to make sure you know what are, transfer payments or those kind of concepts. So those are some key definitions. You can go check that out in your own time, but make sure you know them. The next thing you definitely need to know is the graphs. There are 7 key graphs. Of these, you'll be drawing at least 4 of them on your free responses. You'll have to draw them yourself. And I'll show you which ones I think are the predictions. But when it comes to your free responses, the graphing, the graphs on the free responses you have to draw, but you'll still need the graphs for multiple choice questions. So take a look at this multiple choice question. Again, I'm going quick here. Take a look. A negative aggregate supply shock will result in which of the following in the short run? Let me know in the comments once you have the right answer. The point I'm trying to make right now by giving you this as you're working it out is you're using a graph. It's a multiple choice question, and it didn't give you a graph, but you're using the actual graph for this. Okay. You would draw aggregate demand and supply. You'd say the short run supply shifted to the left. Okay. Some people are saying a decrease in the price level B. Nope. The right answer is E. We are all over the place here with our letters. That's okay. It's okay. You still have a chance to figure this out. The answer is E, an increase in both the price level and unemployment rate. So we have less output. Now, if you got the right answer, it's probably because you got the right graph. This is a negative supply shock, or it's showing the idea of what's called stagflation. Those are the terms you're going to see on the test. Supply curve shifted to the left, price level went up, so there's more inflation, and we have less output, which means more unemployment. Again, if you have no idea what I'm talking about, pretty much this is not the video for you. I'll tell you right now. What you need to do is go take a look at my unit summary videos in the Ultimate Review Packet. That's a good place to start, and you should have had those study guides filled out. If you have the study guides filled out, you're in a good spot. Don't come to my session tomorrow at all. You just need to watch those videos and do the practice questions inside the exam slayer if you have no idea what I'm talking about. Anyways, the point is you got to know the key graphs. Here they are. Production possibilities curve. They might ask you to draw this. Super easy. A point in the curve is underutilization. You know this graph. The big one is aggregate demand and supply. You're going to have to draw it on the free response, and you're going to see it on multiple choice questions over and over again. Probably 5 multiple choice questions will require you to use that graph and understand it. They might actually just give you the graph, or again, like that last question, ask you a question, and if you know the graph, you're fine. Again, I can't get to you guys. I see all your comments. I can't get to you quite yet. The other graph you're going to see usually for free response number 1 is either aggregate demand and supply or the Phillips curve. They both show where the economy is, negative output gap, full employment, or a positive output gap. So make sure you know that graph. There's also the money market graph that doesn't show you where the economy is, but it's used for policy. So if there's an increase or decrease in the money supply, that shows what happens to the interest rate. There's also a loanable funds market graph. And then there's the foreign exchange market graph. Okay. Loanable funds shows, supply and demand for loans. Foreign exchange has to do with other countries and, how much people in other countries will want to pay for your currency and the exchange rate. The other one that's not on this paper, but it's right here, is the other one that everyone freaks out about it because it's brand new, is a reserve market graph. It's not that hard. Look at last year's free response, get an idea of what they're asking. It's going to be something very similar to that. Make sure you can draw this graph and understand it's different than the money supply graph. This is showing the amount of reserves, the demand for reserves in the economy. And it shows this idea that if we're in the flat range, like this graph is right now, that is the idea of there's ample reserves in the banking system. If we're in the downward sloping range, that is limited reserves. Again, I have 2 videos that completely explain it, that explain the concept entirely. I just posted another video too that explains monetary policy as well, with interest on reserves and all that kind of stuff. Let's back up here. Take a look at this list I just gave you. Back. Okay. This list right here, I put them in order of importance. So when it comes in, not everything is as important as the other thing. You got to know these. So first one, aggregate demand and supply, you have to be able to draw it, and the Phillips curve. They might be their own free responses. That's why you have to know those first. Foreign exchange gets asked all the time on free responses, so you have to be able to draw it. And a lot of the free response or questions, or sorry, a lot of multiple choice questions you're going to give are going to require you to use foreign exchange. Like just not, they won't give it to you, but you have to be able to use it to answer the question. Same thing with loanable funds. They ask a lot. Money market, reserve market. So it's kind of in this order as order of importance. Make sure you know aggregate demand and supply before anything else. If I ask you to draw a negative output gap, you should be able to draw it right now. No questions asked. All right, let's keep moving and talk about the next thing, which is right here, relationships. If you watch the videos in my exam slayer, I went through all the key relationships. I have a document. Don't skip this document in there. If you got the exam slayer, first of all, thank you. I created a list of all the different relationships in the entire course, some going up and some going down. This causes this. The reason why that's important is this concept right here. This is so true on this test. You're going to see questions. They look the same, right? Discount rate goes up. Discount rate goes up. The policy rate goes up. Policy rate goes down. Interest on reserve goes up, goes down. And you look at the questions, you're like, I don't know. Those little details matter. It looks kind of the same, but those little details are going to matter, especially questions where they ask you to combine fiscal and monetary policy together. Those ones, it's confusing. You got to know the key relationships. That's why I created lists like this. Inside the exam slayer for each unit, I have something like this. These are the main ones that you need to know. I don't have time to go over them all. If you want to pause the video or come back later, you can. I'm going to keep moving here. But you should understand, increase in interest rate does what to investment. Increase in taxes does what to disposable income. And they create these little chain links. And in the AP exam, you have to be able to link up all these concepts. So if it asks you, some question, what's going to happen to the real interest rate if this occurs, you got to be, okay, this causes this, causes this, causes this, and connect all those chain links. So here's the right answers to these. They're right here. Okay. So higher interest rate means less investment, more taxes, less disposable income. I'm not going to go through all of them. You should know all of these and just understand that all numbers 10, 11, and 12, that's all monetary policy. You should look at it. Oh, I know that's the traditional tools of monetary policy. Let's talk about the most important ones. Look at these red ones. The first one's the most important one. This is monetary policy. The idea of interest rates going up, there's going to be less investment. Remember, investment is borrowing to buy tools, for their factories, for businesses. So higher interest rates means less borrowing, less investment. More capital stock means more growth. You should be able to draw and explain growth on both the aggregate demand and supply graph and on the production possibilities curve. An increase in money supply will decrease interest rates. That's just monetary policy. That's expansionary monetary policy. And number 14, this goes to unit 6. I know I was reading the comments and many of you guys were complaining that you never got through unit 6, so you don't understand foreign exchange. Really, I've taught foreign exchange in 2 days before. I was running out of time. Balance of payments, understanding that whole concept and understanding foreign exchange. It's really not that complicated. You can get some bare bones basics. Again, if you watch the summary video in my ultimate review packet, that's probably just enough. Big here, though, in terms of relationships, is understanding that an increase in the interest rates will increase net capital inflows to your country. So if interest rates go up, other countries will put more money into your country. And so the demand for your currency will increase. It's kind of counterintuitive. A lot of students kind of go, well, I'm confused. Higher interest rates, we said in number 1 on here, means there's less investment. Yeah, people in your own country will do less borrowing, less investment, but people in other countries want to get that higher rate of return. So higher interest rates will attract more foreign money into your country. Again, those are the relationships. They're super important. And again, if you have the exam slayer, there's a whole list of all the relationships for every single unit. It's a huge part of this test. I would say about 15 to 20 of the questions on the exam are going to be really leaning heavy on relationships. If this occurs, what happens with this? And they might have chain links. If this occurs, what happens to this? But you have to put together, 2 chain links to understand it. Make sure you know those key relationships. Next thing you got to know is those equations. There will be some equations on the exam. The main ones are right here: the spending multiplier, the money multiplier, calculating real interest rate. It's called the Fisher equation. The real interest rate is the nominal minus expected inflation. The unemployment rate, something they might ask you, or the CPI, the GDP deflator. How to calculate opportunity cost, given, this country produces 10 trains and 50 cars, and you have to calculate opportunity cost for 1 train, 1 car. And then, of course, GDP. Sometimes they'll give you a chart and they'll say, there's eggs, bread, and milk, and you have to calculate the GDP, the nominal and real GDP, and show what happens when the price changes. Those are all, free responses they've given on the past. For all of these, really, it's just the same darn concept over and over again, just different numbers. So don't freak out about it. I don't understand. It's really the same numbers every single time, or the same idea, different numbers. So you should know these. You can practice them all. Inside my ultimate review packet, I have a key equations practice sheet where you can actually go through there. I also have a video you should definitely watch, the key equations for macroeconomics. I go over them all. In fact, when it comes to AP exam, really, there's 2 videos the day of the exam that you absolutely have to watch. The first one is the every graph you need to know video. I explain all the graphs you got to understand for all of macroeconomics. And the second video is the every concept you have to know. That video is a little older, so it won't have kind of the new monetary policy stuff in it. But I did make a supplement video. I added to that and made sure you understand that as well. So make sure you understand, the reserve market graph stuff as well. Okay, all that stuff. I'm just trying to give you a quick overview. Now you kind of know what you know and know what you don't know. Hopefully that gives you an idea. Let's go talk about the things you absolutely have to do. Take a look at this list with me. You have to be able to identify comparative advantage, who should specialize in what, right? You can use the quick and dirty. Calculate terms of trade. So that's something on macro. They didn't have it on the micro exam. It's something you could see on a macro test question. Like you got to know how to find who should specialize in what. And then when they specialize, what's a terms of trade that make them both of them happy? Again, I've made videos that cover it. Calculate GDP, the GDP deflator. The GDP deflator is a little trickier. Make sure you practice that. Identify who's helped and hurt by unexpected inflation. That one's easier. Lenders lose and borrowers benefit. That's a way of remembering it. Borrowers benefit, lenders lose. Use the shifters of aggregate demand and supply. You'll see, like I said, 6 to 10 questions where you're just, if you understand aggregate demand and supply, you understand the question. Calculate and use the spending multiplier. They'll give you the amount of a gap, like there's a $300 billion gap, and you have to close the gap, use a spending multiplier. Explain how the economy adjusts in the long run. Oh, this is important. Again, I have videos that explain it. I do a really good job of explaining it in all the graphs you know as well. Here's a trick. When there's fiscal policy being used, that's going to shift aggregate demand. When the economy adjusts in the long run, that's always going to be the short run aggregate supply. So an adjustment in the long run, if there's no policy, that's going to affect the aggregate supply curve, not the demand curve. The next thing you need to know is bank balance sheets. So they have assets and liabilities and be able to read it, calculate excess reserves, required reserves. If there's a change in that, if someone withdraws or, deposits money, what's going to happen? Calculate the money multiplier. This is unit 4. Explain open market operations. They love that. I mean, in terms of, if there's one term you need to know, just one term, what is open market operations? The central bank buying and selling bonds. You got to know that. And then explain exchange rates and how it affects net exports. And understand, the big idea there is, when a currency appreciates, the net exports are going to fall, right? People can't buy your goods and services if your currency is more valuable. And then last one, categorize transactions based on balance of payments. What I mean by that is, they will say, okay, here's a transaction, international transaction. Is it part of the current account or the capital and financial account? My question to you right now is, in the comments, let me know. Stop what you're doing. Out of these 12 things, how many do you feel really comfortable with? Are you 10 out of 12, 8 out of 12, 1 out of 12? Let me know right now on there, 10 out of 12, 9 out of 12, 12 out of 12. Let me know. These are the things you need to know. Oh, we got someone who's saying 0 out of 12. I don't know about that, guys. I think you know some of these things. 11 out of 12, 0. Okay. Someone asked me to go over 12. I will answer your questions definitely tomorrow. Right now, I want to get to my predictions, so I am pausing a little bit. Now, if you said 10 out of 12 or 9 out of 12, that's good. Remember, you're not trying to get 100%. If you don't know something, it's not the end of the world. The one advice I would give on a free response, don't ever leave anything blank, right? Like if it says, what happens to the interest rate? Just say it went up. And then go with your, that knowledge for part B and part C. A lot of times students go, I don't know this, I'm going to leave it blank, and they lose all the points. If you guess and say, okay, interest rate went up, even if it's wrong, you can still get points on later parts of the question by, going off, what you said, interest rate went up or down, whatever you said. It looks like you guys are saying you're kind of okay. Though if you have anything less than a 6, seriously, you just got to stop what you're doing, get back in the ultimate review packet, do more practice, because all this stuff is inside the ultimate review packet and the exam slayer. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for my predictions. Here's what I think the free responses are going to be on this year. Now, let's take a step back. There are 2 sets of free responses. Each school might get 2 sets. So my school, when I was teaching, you're sitting here, you have a set of free responses. Your neighbor right next to you has completely different free responses. So I'm saying set 1 free responses. Here's my predictions, and it's obviously going to change. The great thing about macro, though, is that it's pretty darn. They pretty much ask the same questions almost every single time. So I can say without a doubt, you're going to have to draw aggregate demand and supply or the Phillips curve. It's been like that for every free response for 20 years. So there's some things you'll see over and over again, but I do want to point out before I show you mine, this is just a guess. I'm having fun here. Don't hold me accountable to this, and let me know later on. How dare you tell me to focus on this? And I didn't get the points right because I studied the wrong thing. This is just my prediction. Here we go. You guys ready? Let me know if you're ready. Here we go. Free response number 1, I think, is going to be aggregate demand and supply showing a negative output gap. So right now in the back of your brain, see if you can do this. I think they're going to ask you for a long run self-adjustment. So what's going to happen in the long run if there's no policy? And you'll have to say an increase in aggregate supply and explain, because wages would eventually fall. And then they'd say, well, assume instead you use fiscal policy, and you have to explain fiscal policy to close that gap. I think they might switch it up and have you use either taxes, a cut in taxes, or the idea of transfer payments. So it might not just be government spending. So make sure you know those as well. Then I think they're going to work in the idea of the spending multiplier and give you an amount of the gap. And so there's a $400 billion gap. The marginal propensity to consume is 0.8. Close the gap given a cut in taxes. And you have to explain that concept. Then I think they're going to say, okay, this causes a deficit because we're doing more spending, but not bringing more tax revenue. And what's going to happen to the loanable funds market and the idea of crowding out? I think so. For this graph, I think, or for this free response, you're going to be doing aggregate demand and supply, which is the graph, also the loanable funds market as well, and then doing the calculation for that. Let me know in the comments right now how you feel about this. If this was your free response, how would you guys feel? I don't know. We will see. We will see. Okay. That was free response 1. That's what I think. Now, if it's not that, it could be a positive output gap, or it could be a Phillips curve. They could do the exact same questions, except draw a Phillips curve, show a negative output gap, and make sure you can draw it on that as well. But the majority of the time over the last 20 years, you're either drawing the aggregate demand supply curve or the Phillips curve. There is a video inside the Ultimate Exam Slayer. I know not everybody has it, but I'm going to mention it. Click on it. It says free response, ideas, tips for the free response. That's what it's called. And basically it talks about the free response tree. It talks about different things they've asked and helps you organize a little bit. Okay, next one is free response number 2. I'm going on a limb here. I'm saying it's going to be bank balance sheets. We haven't seen one in a while. Bank balance sheets, assets, liabilities. It's going to give you the numbers, and it's going to say something like, calculate the reserve requirement based on the numbers it gives you. Or, if there's a change in there and they say, okay, someone deposited $5,000 or someone withdrew $5,000, how's that going to affect the both the required reserves for this particular bank or the excess reserves for this particular bank? So make sure you can do that. There's been free responses that's been on the past. Then I think they're going to start talking about the idea of the reserve market graph. I think this is going to be a monetary policy question. They could ask the money market graph, but I think just like last year, they're going to ask the reserve market graph to make sure that your teacher is teaching it the way they should. So expect to draw the reserve market graph. Last year, I told students, reserve market's not going to be on the free response. And it was. I was wrong. I think it'll be on this year. We'll see. Make sure you can draw it, though. In fact, make sure you can draw all 7 of those key graphs. The last free response, I think, is going to be pulling from Unit 6, and we're going to go to foreign exchange and balance of payments. So the way balance payments would look like is they would say, here's some transaction. Is this part of the current account or the capital and financial account? And explain. So make sure, again, you can tell the difference between those 2 different accounts. I got videos that explain it. And then they'll switch off and say, okay, there's some monetary policy that occurred in this country that caused the interest rates to increase or decrease. Let's just say increase. And then they'll connect that to foreign exchange. And they'll say, okay, well, what's going to happen to the foreign exchange market if there's a higher interest rate, either, for which country, whether the other country or your own country. And remember, the rule is if interest rates go up, then the demand for your currency in your country will also go up. That's what I think it is. So first for response, aggregate demand and supply right there, showing the idea of negative output gap with a long run adjustment, then connecting to loanable funds. The second one I think is going to show basically all monetary policy, including the reserve market. And the last one, I think they're going to work in Unit 6 and bring in foreign exchange and the capital and financial account. Again, I hope you guys do great. Please, someone said, please list out the graphs. When you're done with this video, you can pause it and go back and take a look. Okay, what we need to know right now is this. Inside the Ultimate Review Packet, it's totally free, and the Exam Slayer, there's a list of all the concepts in this course, and they're linked to my YouTube videos that are free. So if you don't have didn't buy the Ultimate Review Packet, you still have all these videos. What I suggest you do with the amount of time you have left is really focus on what you don't know and start picking off the concepts and go watch just that video. Better yet, watch the unit summary videos in the Ultimate Review Packet, but do whatever you can right now. A live session is not the best use of your time. I know that sounds weird, and I know you've done live sessions with other, online YouTube educators. I can answer some of your questions, but I'm not going to hang out very long because it's not as efficient, right? If you want efficient learning, you watch the unit summary video. I explain what you got to do. You draw the graph, you do the question, or do the other questions. That's a more effective use of your time. That said, I do want to do a few shout outs. So shout out to Mr. Paris. Shout out to Mr. Smith. Someone said foreign exchange. Show up tomorrow. I will go in all the detail you want in tomorrow. tomorrow's live session. Shout out to Mr. Gray, Mr. Garnett, Mr. Miller. Is that Georgia Miller? No, he doesn't have a class. Mrs. Carlin, Mrs. Kulik. It's funny, Mr. Walters. You guys are bringing them in fast, and I can read them. Mr. Benson, Mr. Costner. I know many of these names. These are amazing teachers. Ms. Patterson, Mrs. Allison. Shout out to all these people. Wow, you guys are coming in faster. Shout out to Mr. Thomas. You guys are awesome. First of all, like I said, let's do this. I don't want. Yeah, I mean, I can put them all up there too. Shout out. Here we go. Anyways, shout out to all of you guys. The big thing here is I want to say again, thank you so much for watching my videos. I will hang out for a few more minutes and answer some of your questions. So I'll put this back up here. Do me a favor though. Like I said, tomorrow, one more live session, 5 p.m. I'll sit there and answer your questions. This is really designed for people who are trying to get a 4 or a 5. If you're still trying to get a 3, squeak that 3 out. Watch my other videos. Those will help you out. Okay. Let me know if you have a quick question about a concept. First person that puts them up is the first person that I'm going to answer. I got a little bit of time here, so I want to help you guys out. So I'll pause the shout outs for a second. I will say a shout out to, was it Mrs. Hollander, Mr. Hollander? That was, you guys are going crazy. What is a supply shock? That's a good question. It just came by so fast. Supply shock, there's 2 different supply shocks, positive and negative. A negative supply shock means we run out of like oil or some sort of key resource. So the aggregate supply shifts to the left. It's a decrease of supply. A positive supply shock means there's new technology or not something else that allows us to produce more stuff. So there's 2 types of supply shocks. Crowding out. Let me go back up and say what crowding out is. You do need to know it. Crowding out is the idea when the government deficit spends, they do all the borrowing, and that leaves less money for individual firms to borrow. And so interest rates go up. When interest rates go up, businesses invest less. They spend less more on factories, machines, tools. And so there's going to be less growth. So basically, the government crowds out or blocks the private sector when they do all the borrowing. This is a big concept. The capital account and the capital financial account, the current account and the capital financial account, those are important things you got to know. It's balance of payments. The big idea here is the current account is basically trade. That's the only one that really matters to you is, the idea, net exports is part of the current account. If I buy something from another country, a good or service, that is part of the current account. If I were to buy a financial asset, a bond or a stock in another country, that's part of the capital and financial account. Those are the big differences between those. I just did. That was 12. Bank balance sheets. In the ultimate review packet, there's a video that I go over. It's like a practice video. I have a couple specialized videos in those resources, so you can check that out. But I can't go over a lot of details because I don't have one in front of me. Shout outs. I covered some of these things. You guys, they're coming in so much fast. So foreign exchange, I can tell from people's comments that, it's unit 6 that's making people freak out. Like, oh my gosh, unit 6 really isn't that hard. It just isn't. Foreign exchange is just supply and demand for currency, and it's just logical. So anything that affects the demand would increase or decrease the demand for your currency. So if other countries want to buy more of your stuff, or if other countries are richer, they want to buy more of your stuff, or if interest rates in your country are higher, they want to buy more of your assets to, they need more of your currency to buy more assets because they want that higher rate of return. So really, it's just supply and demand, very intuitive. If you do 5 practice foreign exchange questions, you probably have enough to be like, okay, I can, about 80% of the questions I see, I probably could answer just from like logic. Does it make sense? Okay. Other things that you guys are asking. How about a Phillips curve shift? There's a video I talked about at Phillips curve. I did talk about when the Phillips curve, the short run shifts. The long run doesn't shift very often. They can ask you a question on it, but the long run Phillips curve is all based on how much frictional and structural unemployment there is in the economy. And those don't have a tendency to change much. The only thing that could shift it potentially is there is a question that could say, if there are more generous unemployment benefits and now people are frictionally unemployed for longer period of time. And so frictional unemployment goes from being 3% up to 12% because people I might as well get money from the government. It's okay being unemployed. Then that could shift the long run Phillips curve. The short run Phillips curve shifts anytime the short run aggregate supply curve shifts. So again, if you watch the video about the Phillips curve, it covers it, actually show the graphs side by side. I cover all these things in there as well. The big concept, yeah, reserve graph. I don't know what you want me to tell you other than what I put it in the video. There's a video I posted in May of last year, right before the AP exam. That video really covers it all. It's like, it's all right there. So go back and watch that if you need the help. It's funny because last year I said, you know, this is not going to be on the free response. And then I made this video. So the students who ended up watching this video right before they walked in the AP exam were in good shape. Okay. You're asking good questions. Are there going to be any questions for economic growth? Yes, there'll be 2 questions on economic growth. Something like, you know, how will an increase in human capital affect, you know, the economy? And there'll be an increase in, you know, economic growth. Or there might be a question that has you, you know, see a shift in the production possibilities curve outward, talk about economic growth. A lot of times they'll connect lower interest rates to more investment and more economic growth. Those concepts you're all going to see about economic growth. Not a hard concept. In fact, it's one of the easiest concepts in the entire course. Okay. Yeah. So government spending to close the gap. Again, this is what I think is going to be on a free response this year. I think they're going to ask you a question like this. They gave one, I think about 2-3 years ago, same sort of thing. They set it up and they say, here's the gap. They just tell you, here's the gap's 400 billion. How much spending has to close the gap? Remember, you have to calculate the spending multiplier, which is 1 over the marginal propensity to save. So they'll give you the marginal propensity to save and the marginal propensity to consume. You have to figure that out. The marginal propensity to save, 1 over marginal propensity to save. Any initial spending times that number gives you the total number of spending in the economy. Again, I do apologize. I know that you have more questions, but this is not the time or the place to do it. The time is tomorrow for that session. And the place for you to learn is on YouTube, but it's a lot more efficient to watch my other videos, my unit summary videos, the videos in the exam slayer. Those will help you a lot better than me right now. That said, ladies and gentlemen, you guys are awesome. I'm going to post a video, a short, right before the exam starts. So I'll wish you guys good luck. I want to thank you so much for watching my videos. You're amazing. I mean it. Like, I don't have more. You're my students. I just absolutely love working with you guys. You guys are the absolute best. I wish you the best of luck. If I don't see you tomorrow, then good luck on the AP exam. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time. See ya. Bye.